Okay, it is 6 p.m. and we will call to order the Town of Florence Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of Thursday, August 16, 2018. Mr. Harmer, would you please call the roll?
Chairman Pranzo is absent. Commissioner Schopel.
Present.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Present.
Vice Chair Frost.
Present.
And Council Liaison Hawkins is present. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If you would please rise. Commissioner Chappelle is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is discussion approval of the minutes of the regular meetings conducted on June 21st and July 19th, and the minutes of the special joint work session on August 2nd, 2018. Well, fellow commissioners, any comments, concerns, or with any of those? Or?
No.
No?
I make a motion that...
I did have one before you do that.
Okay.
And that was with the... Mr. Harmer, on the meeting minutes of July 19th, it was noted in there that Chairman Pranzo asked about development services title as a department, and you were going to do some research on that to see if that was correct.
That does not affect the minutes, however.
Okay,
we have done additional research. We can report on that later.
Okay.
If you so desire.
And then I had one other concern, and that was with the joint meeting that we had with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I think we had a bit of a discussion on trying to plan the trail system so that it would be conducive to special events such as 10K races, triathlons, and things of that nature, and also so that it would work well in conjunction with high school activities such as cross-country and things of that nature, but I don't see any mention of that in the minutes.
We can certainly add that reference.
I think that would be good since that's the official record, and if it's not written, it might not have occurred.
Okay. Just make sure that's part of the motion
Okay.
to add that.
I have one comment.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Farmer, I'm interested in making sure that we market the likelihood of this project being accomplished in a reasonable period of time. So I would suggest, besides the town website, that we have some other way of publicizing the fact that this exists, because I know there's some interest. I mentioned it to some of my friends in Anthem, and they're very excited about a bicycle trail.
We can call that to the attention of the Community Services Director. This is his project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, since I had the comment, I will move approval of the minutes of the regular meetings conducted on June 21st and July 19th, and also the meetings of the special joint work session held on August 2nd, adding comments relating to events and partnership with the schools to the joint meeting minutes.
I second that motion.
Okay, that second was made by Commissioner Chappelle. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, that passes 3-0. Okay, we have no public hearings this evening. We do have new business. Anthem at Merrill Ranch preliminary plat applications, Unit 31, Unit 33, Unit 35A, and Unit 35B. Mr. Harmer, is there a presentation on this?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
You've just took care of the first slide for me. Thank you. These are 4 plats that lie west of the Hunt Highway, basically across from the fire station, the town's fire station out there. They have been previously approved. Preliminary plats, when approved, the approval lasts for 1 year. unless an extension is applied for. In this case, extension deadline was missed, and so therefore these have to come back for reapproval before we can move them forward to the town council for final plat approval. Planning Commission approves preliminary plats, the final plats go to the council directly. Basically, this has all been previously approved. Originally, the 4 of them had 440 lots total. The current layout only has 436 because there was some tweaking between units 33 and 35A that actually reduced the number of lots overall, which is perfectly all right by town code and by statute. This kind of gives you the general layout very quickly, starting from bottom to top, or in alphabet or in numerical order. I'll go through them very briefly here for you. Unit 31 has a total of 113 lots in it. There's been no changes in the configuration at all. 33 has currently 146. It originally had 161 lots, and what has basically changed is at the very north end where it abutted Unit 35A, they've just kind of swapped some lots between the two of them. 35A then to the north has now 120 lots. It originally had 109. And then all the way to the north is 35B, which still has the same 57 lots that it had originally. The densities, open space, all of that basically still complies with the original approvals and with the overall Anthem Merrill Land Ranch PUD. Staff's recommendation is the same as previously. The stipulations or the conditions have not changed. They are worded exactly from the original. And we're recommending that all be approved with the conditions of development subdivision comply with all applicable codes, including planning, building, fire, engineering requirements. And just as a note for your information, the engineering portions of it, the engineering plans accompany the final plat submittal, so that all of those would have to go through an approval process before the council sees the final plat for their approval. The developer property owner responsible for all street dedications, improvements, etc. The final plans for right-of-way and easement dedications have to be provided part of the final plat submittal, subject to review and approval. The property owner may reduce the number of lots, and this is something as much of an information item for the commission as it is a condition. They can reduce the number of lots or widen lots or things of that nature without affecting the approval of a preliminary plat. However, they cannot increase the density or reduce any of the open space between the preliminary plat and the final plat. So what you prove tonight, what you will act on tonight, will go forward pretty much unchanged. And then any other stipulations or conditions that you feel might be necessary. We have representatives of Southwest Value Partners, who is the current property owner, and we have a representative here of D.R. Horton, who is the prospective buyer of the units once they're all final platted and to start building homes.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Harmer this evening?
Mr. Harmer, I've been told that the plan is, once those houses are built and purchased, that the recreational facilities in Parkside will be available to those residents. Is that correct?
This is all part of Anthem development. So, you know, I'm not in charge of how that is all worked out in their CC&Rs, but that's my presumption is yes.
Okay, because I was under the impression that only Parkside recreational facilities would be available because it's a mixed family area. If someone can clear that up.
I have a representative of the builder, Patrick Brown.
Hi, Patrick Brown with D.R. Horton, Vice President of Land. Our address is 20410 North 19th Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona, for the record. Council Member Schoppel, this is annexed into Parkside Anthem. It is part of the Parkside. It won't have the accessibility to the Sun City site, but it is part of the Parkside Anthem HOA. It's currently actually been paying subsidy dues while Southwest Value Partners own the property as well. So our future residents, with your passing of the preliminary plats, will be associated with the Parkside Anthem HOA.
Thank you for that clarification, because the residents of Sun City side, the facilities there are overburdened right now without any additional complications from people using those resources, and they prize the fact that it's a 55-plus community.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Harmer? Larry, I have a few that can either be addressed by you or by the representatives that are here this evening. I'm going to have to turn through these to find them again, so you bear with me. Okay. I should have noted them on the title page, but I think I noted them on, oh, okay. In Unit 33, Sheet 7 of 7, right where that nice 90-degree corner is, kind of in the middle, there's 2 retention basins in Tract A. Why is it bifurcated into 2 basins versus one larger?
Mr. Chairman, that would be an engineering question. It would have to do, I'm sure, something to do with the design as to which direction the flows are coming from. That would be my speculation, but I am not the engineer to tell you specifically. The final improvement plans for drainage and all those other things will be coming as part of the final plat submittal process.
I'm just thinking if it's bifurcated into 2, it makes it much harder for the developer to put amenities in there for the future residents there. So it was just a kind of curiosity question as to why 2. Unit 35A, general notes, comment number 8. I think that note is a great note to have there, but unfortunately when it refers to see sheet 8, there is no sheet 8 in this packet. I believe they meant to reference sheet number 2.
Yeah, excuse me, Commissioner or Vice Chair Frost, I do see the omission. That just happens to be not in that set that we've provided you. But again, that just shows the detail. It'll be dimensioned,
Right.
plan view, intersection, and again, part of the final plat submittal for engineering.
Right, there is no sheet 8, it should be sheet 2, I believe. Also, in previous plats that we have seen, when the plat has a marked, a delineated flood zone in it, there's typically something noted on the title page about that flood zone, and there is no reference to the lots that are affected or anything on this plat, which I've seen in the past. I don't know if that was an oversight or if it was just...
We will make note of that and make sure that that is covered with the final plat.
I think that's all the comments that I had on that. And 35B, similar comment. There's a floodplain impact here, and it's not noted on the title sheet. And on the 35B plat, it talks about county right-of-way abandonment as part of this recording. I could not find that abandonment anywhere in here.
That's a document that is part of the final plat submittal, and that's why it's noted here. They would have to make that abandonment final recorded prior to the final plat being approved.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I just couldn't find where it was referring to. There's nothing noted in here about that easement within the engineered documents of the plat. Whereas in the previous ones that we looked at, if there was an easement there to be abandoned, they very nicely noted it. Also on the 35B plat, it's kind of the issue that I tend to harp on. There is an area that would be not visible to law enforcement behind lots 36, 37, 38, 39, 42, and 43, making it very difficult to police that area unless the officer is willing to get out and walk.
Could you give me those numbers again, please?
36, 37, 38, 39, 42, and 43. There's basically a hidden area behind there that when I penciled it out here, it doesn't look like you can see those from the street, so an officer on patrol would have a hard time seeing that area.
I'll call those to the attention of the police chief and have him review that.
With that, I don't have any other comments and would entertain a motion.
I'd move that we approve these. I move that we approve these plat plans as submitted.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt and a second by Commissioner Chappelle to approve these as presented and recommend them to the council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? We have a 3-0 in favor.
Thank you.
Item B, the Windmill Winery Inn. Mary, please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this again is also a reapproval of one of the more exciting projects around the downtown area. Windmill Winery, of course, is owned by Harold Christ, who is in the audience tonight, should you have any specific questions. It's part of the Territorial Square PUD. The Windmill Winery Development Agreement does contain within it several future phases that are located south of Butte Avenue. A lot of people are not necessarily aware of that, although I'm sure commissioners are. The original design review approval included the Winery Inn, Brado Cottage, and the Cotton Gin Event Center. That design review approval has expired. The applicant is asking for it to be renewed for just the Winery Inn at this time. The phase will include some additional improvements, though, that have been anticipated south of Butte, having to do with stormwater runoff and retention areas. The parking that's being proposed exceeds the minimum requirement, as noted in the staff report, as does the ADA parking exceeding minimum required. Both of these in recognition for the type of use that this is going to be associated with in bridal parties and things of that nature that will generate additional traffic. This shows the entire site south, well, not the entire site, but the entire, in Bridal Cottage and Cotton Gin location with a phasing line that delineates where the stormwater retention basins will be installed, things of that nature. The staff's recommendation is for approval with, again, the same stipulations that they had prior, with one exception, and that has to do with, where is it? The secondary emergency access to be provided off of Butte to consist of a graded drive with 6 inches of AB material compacted and 90% compaction prior to final occupancy. And this, I know, is a subject that the commission has brought up before and has been discussed at your level. We felt it was provident to go ahead and add that stipulation at this point. Mr. Christ is here and and you in your packet, you have some renderings of the whole package, but he actually has a large-scale rendering back here to present tonight, and if you have any questions for him, he is present.
Sounds great. And is Mr. Christ going to make a presentation talk to us as well? If you would, please step up and give us your full name and your address, please.
Mr. Chairman, Harold Christ. I reside at 525 South, East, West. I moved. East Butte Avenue in Florence. So this is a continuation, as you have heard from our presentation of probably 1.5 years ago. And the reason that we're taking it in bites is because of the added costs that have come about because of increases in materials, labor, steel, et cetera. And so we wanted to begin with the inn and then add the cotton gin. We already have the cotton gin on the adjacent property in pieces, which we secured in Coolidge, but we do not anticipate putting it up at this time.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Christ while he's here?
You say that you're not anticipating putting it up at this time, but eventually it is going to be part of the development,
Yes, sir.
but just not in the initial phase.
Correct. Correct.
Just a positive comment, I guess. I appreciate the use of all the textures and whatnot that you have here and the kind of that reminiscent feel of it, so good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With that, Larry, is there anything else that we need to bring up as part of this?
Other than we encourage the reapproval of this project. We'd like to see it move forward. I think it'd be of great benefit to the downtown core area.
I definitely agree with that, and we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the presentation by Mr. Christ.
I second.
We have a motion and a second for positive affirmation of this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? 3-0 in favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to presentations. House Bill 2065, Open Meeting Law Training.
And the trainor is coming up to the podium, the town attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This should only take about an hour. No. I'm the town attorney, so my address is here at this building. And our state legislature made some changes to the open meeting law this past session. And as you know, the open meeting law applies to our council and our commission as public bodies, and the state law requires that essentially the public's business be done in public meetings such as we're having this evening. So I just wanted to mention, and we thought this would be appropriate since the legislation took effect August 3rd, that there were kind of two areas that were amended in the legislation. One, expanding or adding to the definition of what a meeting is for a public body such as yourself. And really, the law didn't change at all. There were some Arizona Attorney General opinions that existed that were followed by agencies across Arizona. And this change in the statute essentially codified those requirements. So the definition of meeting means or includes electronic communications. So I think as you all are aware, one commission or council member is not supposed to send out an electronic communication to a quorum of the rest of the body discussing or proposing legal action. And so this definition that changed in the statute reminds us of that requirement. Additionally, a one-way communication from one member to another without any response back can also be a violation of the open meeting law if for some reason that discussion either continues and later adds other commission or council members, or there's a CC to those other members. So the reminder is essentially to not be sending emails to each other about business that could come before the commission. And as is done on a routine basis, if there are questions, the best approach is to go through your staff liaison as you currently do. So this is just a codification of what we are already doing. The other change does add a new remedy for enforcement and allows the Attorney General to investigate an individual person that's on a commission or a council if there is such a violation. In fact, the Attorney General can sue that person individually and ask for civil penalties. What's interesting is the first time violation, the statute doesn't mention an amount of money as a civil penalty, but for the second violation, it's up to a $500 penalty. And then for a third and any subsequent violation, it can be up to $2,500 per violation. Additionally, the person can be removed from office. So, you know, there's some real teeth with these things. And just, again, as a reminder, if there are questions on open meeting law issues, I'm always glad to come to a meeting and talk to you about that. Questions about the business of the board, as you do now, is best handled directly through the staff liaison. And as a reminder, commission meetings don't usually involve executive sessions, but if there is the need for one, the commission, like the council, can have an executive session. It just has to be properly agendized. So, and I would be the guy come into that executive session. So, again, thanks for giving me some of your time this evening, and that's kind of the general summary of what was changed. Larry?
This is either an addition or a question, but reading the new inserts, also, should the court impose a civil penalty against an individual member of the public body may not pay the civil penalty. The individual is responsible, is that correct?
Yeah, that can happen. So Larry's a real downer here. So yeah, the public body may be prevented or is prevented from paying that penalty for the individual member. What is interesting is another nuance that changed in addition to that change is that if there is a meeting violation perceived to be ongoing and a member on that board sees that and speaks up and says, I don't think we can be doing this, if at some later point there's some kind of enforcement action, that person who spoke up may avoid any kind of civil fine because they spoke up. So it's basically an incentive to kind of self-police. That's an additional change that's in the provision. So that was less than an hour, I think.
Oh, very good. It's always a good reminder. Commissioners, any questions? Well, we have this expert amongst us here. No questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving to 7B, future agenda items, information only. Staff, any education for us?
Yeah, just very briefly, tentatively, we were going to look at doing the September 6th meeting. If we don't get any items requiring significant action, set up with the assistance of the chairman a work session, similar to what we did a couple weeks ago jointly with Parks and Rec Commission, but it would be just for the Planning Commission to start picking apart that draft of the Planning Code update. We will redistribute that draft to you. You don't have to go out and dig it out again, but it would be, you know, we can go line by line and start going through it, addressing questions, concerns, changes, and those types of things, and we want to start moving that one forward. And depending on how far we get at that meeting, if we can, you know, spend enough time and get through that draft, then the September 20th, we'll be doing the same thing with the sign code. The sign code draft update was completed a couple years ago, but never moved forward. There's been a few legal changes since then that we want to address, plus the draft that had been prepared, we want to add things to it, such as drawings, you know, dimensionable, and they're showing how to dimension or do areas on signs, things of that nature, more illustrations so that we can make it a little bit more user-friendly. So that's what we anticipate right now. I'm not aware of any action items coming forward at this point, but that can change tomorrow. So that is tentatively what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you for the heads up. We appreciate that. Questions of Larry?
I have a question, Mr. Harmer. Any hints or any clues on fulfilling the total number of members on the Planning and Zoning Commission? Do you have any likely candidates?
We do. And since it's not agendized, I can't go
Yep.
into any detail, but I'll blurt out, we do.
Yeah, we can't talk about it, but he can say yes.
Yes, okay, yeah. No, I just wondered because your question about having a quorum sometimes is a problem.
Yep. Okay, moving on to item number 8, call to the public. Call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Individual commission members may respond to criticisms made, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the commission shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. So this will be our call to the public. Do we have anyone from the public this evening that would like to address the commission? Seeing heads nodding in the no direction out there, we'll close the call to the public and do a call to the commission members for any current events and things of that nature. Anything, gentlemen? Nothing from me as well. So with that, unless, Larry, there is anything else that we need to discuss that is part of the agenda this evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Schmidt and a second by Commissioner Chappelle to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, I think we're adjourned.